Do you remember the album art for the album Weathered by Creed?
I don't. What's it look like?
Well, Geoff, it's one of the worst album covers of all time. I would love for you to Google Weathered Creed and look at that album cover because it is truly horrible.
Weathered.
Yes.
This could also be like the title of my memoir. What the fuck? This looks like a meme.
It's real. It's the actual real album cover.
It's like their face are superimposed in a tree.
It's like the first version of Photoshop just released, and people were just messing with it on album covers, and it looks...
I'm Xing out of this and want to forget that I ever saw it.
It really looks like an Animorphs album or a book cover.
It does.
Same
okay,
aesthetic.
yes.
Yeah.
It does have that same aesthetic. I do wonder if they were actually inspired by that or if they're like visual.
There's no way they're absolutely
Justin,
not inspired by
how do you
that.
know? How do you know?
Well, we'll have to get Creed on the pod to find out.
I think we got to call
It's
him
the
up.
only way. We got to call Creed.
Let's call Creed. I'll have my people call their people.
Scott Stapp seems like a good guy. All right, everyone, gird your loins. Justin,
are you sober? Well, we've got steaks of jojoba left over from October. Geoff, and welcome to Bands.
Morning, Geoff. How you doing?
Justin, I'm great because I started my day off with the musical stylings of Dr. Molly Gupta, who did put on a concert for about 150 people in what looks like a high school auditorium. And it was a wonderful time. So offbeat, really up there doing her thing, grooving around like she's made out of plywood. She looked like a marionette, you know? Just like the arms flailing around while she's singing, bopping back and forth. Loved it.
Can I ask you a question about Molly, Dr. Molly Gupta?
That's right. Put some respect on her name.
Have to put some respect on her name.
She didn't go to medical school for 7 years or whatever. 8 years? 4 years is med school. And undergrad, whatever. She didn't go to med school for that amount of time, for a certain amount of time, for you to not call her Dr. Molly Gupta.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question about Dr. Molly Gupta, Geoff. This category of person who goes viral for being no shade to Molly, to Dr. Molly Gupta. Okay. However, as you mentioned many times, she's always offbeat. You said that she's always off key, you know, on our previous episode where you talked about her. I don't think that you would describe her, and I certainly would not describe her as like a super talented vocalist. And you also described her dancing as like plywood, if I remember correctly. So
you do.
What do you like? There's something in me that feels bad laughing or enjoying that content because it's just not good. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, somebody should tell her.
I can't imagine she doesn't know that she's not like extraordinarily talented. I just really love that she is unabashedly herself and doing her thing. I think that is so enviable, and she is an entertainer. Okay, she's not a vocalist, she's not a dancer, but she is an entertainer. There's value to that, I think.
What's entertaining about it, I guess, is the question. It's just the fact that she is like bad and still doing it with confidence.
It's that. It's also that she's just having so much fun doing it. And I think that there is like truly, I'm not making fun of her. This is not a bit. I really do think that there is like value to watching somebody like 100% authentically being themselves and just having fun. Like I find real value to like watching other people have fun. Yeah, that is enjoyable for me.
Alternative title for this podcast: bad, but we're trying our best. We're having fun doing it.
Justin, we are not bad. We are great. We're fantastic.
I
purveyors of culture. I would say icons in the landscape of podcasting.
Icons. Yeah, 100% agree, Geoff.
Justin, internationally acclaimed. Let's not forget.
Yes, that's true. We have at least more than one international listener. That's for sure.
That's right. We see the stats.
Yeah, we do see the demographics at least on Spotify.
That's right, because Spotify, we would love to be in a Spotify exclusive podcast. Just saying. We love your platform.
bandspot@gmail.com. And Geoff, speaking of our email address,
yes,
we are currently collecting questions for our 100th mailbag episode. So if you haven't already, send us an email, send us a DM on Instagram @bandspod. Send us your questions. We will answer almost anything. You can
also DM me at Geoff Taylor Nar. on Instagram. That is where you can reach me most easily because Justin has taken over social media, and it is for the best, I will say.
I'm trying my best. I'm posting some shorts on there, posting
You're
some
doing
shorts
great.
on YouTube, some reels on Instagram, you know.
Oh, honey, we're getting the views and the clicks.
Yeah. Let me tell you, our 2006 episode, great content for shorts and reels, you know.
It was great content for shorts and reels, and people saw it.
Yeah, people are crazy about Heroes, the TV show.
The Heroes fandom is out of control. I went down a rabbit hole after this episode because I did see we were getting a lot of views specifically on the Heroes one, and there are full on wikis about Heroes. There are there was a video game. Did you know about this? There's a Heroes video game.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, there was a Heroes video game. There's also these people who were talking about trying to at one point, I don't think that they actually got off the ground with it, but there were people talking in this big thread I found on Reddit about starting a GoFundMe to fund another season or a spin-off series of Heroes.
I think they've already done 2 reboots or sequels or whatever miniseries. So
that's a lot.
Wild. Also, somebody posted on, I think it was our YouTube short of the Heroes clip. I mentioned Lost one time in that clip, just briefly. And somebody, I swear to God, wrote an essay length response that was I have watched Lost 15 times and I know exactly what it's about. And then he went on to write exactly what he thought Lost was about on a reel that was about the television show Heroes.
I didn't see this.
So to that man, I say, seek help.
Oh,
yeah.
Justin, now you can't turn on the fandom. Now, sir, if you're listening, we love you, and I appreciate your engagement. And I also appreciate your passion. I bet he's as passionate about Lost, as Dr. Molly Gupta is about covering Charlie XCX Brat album.
Charlie XCX Brat album. Yes, indeed. I bet he is. And I'm looking forward to his engagement with our Lost content. Yeah.
I did just kind of say that in a particularly weird way.
Yeah.
Charlie XCX Brat album. I sound like
it's giving ESL.
Yes, exactly. Justin, how was your week? Justin, we're always talking about me, but I want to turn it on to you. Justin, how are you?
My week's been good. I watched I would say, we're talking about it today, so surprisingly good film, The Devil Wears Prada 2 this weekend, which we will be talking about at length today.
I can't wait to talk about that.
We said that if the movie was bad, that we would just talk about the original, and here we are talking about the sequel, so I guess we enjoyed it.
I believe that I said I would be rioting in the streets if it was bad.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not in the streets, so I think that's good news.
I'm certainly not.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. Otherwise, yeah, had a pretty fun weekend. Went to a show yesterday. It was a new show. Androids event, which is this dance music collective located in DC. They hosted this series of DJs from the record label on Juna Deep, which I think was pretty fun. It was a daytime afternoon event.
What word did you just say? Juna Deep?
On Juna Deep is the name of the record label that hosted the event. Yeah.
How did you get invited to this?
I mean, I bought tickets. I didn't get invited.
Oh. I thought it was an album release party.
No, it's they have a roster of DJs, and they kind of go on semi-tour and hold these kind of mini festivals where there's a lineup of 4 or 5 DJs that play over the course of a day. And went to that fun. Yesterday. Yeah, so it was fun. Very cool. This is the hat I'm wearing now. This is the logo of the record label.
You know, you love a hat. You love a hat with that's merchandise.
I do. I have too many hats. I actually need to figure out a way to store my hats.
Is it Hat Summer Part 2?
It's always Hat Summer now, baby. Did we talk about Hat Summer on the pod?
I don't actually think that we did talk about Hat Summer.
This is kind of a throwback at this point. I think it was summer 2023 that me and Ken and I think also I got Sean on board pretty early to Hat Summer, but I was just I don't wear hats. And I just decided this summer I'm starting to wear hats. And I just started telling everybody it was a pun on Hot Girl Summer. And I said Hat Boy Summer. That's what it was.
Justin, that is so dumb and I love it. I didn't know this. I didn't know it was Hat Boy Summer. It just became Hat Summer.
It was Hat Boy Summer, yes.
Well, okay, now that makes it a lot funnier.
So you love it, is what you're telling me.
I do love it. I have been wearing a hat. Okay, listen, I've been wearing dress down clothing out. I was I'm gonna be very Gen Z, and I'm gonna just wear my chunky sneakers. I'm gonna wear my kind of baggy jeans. I'm gonna wear a sweatshirt and and a baseball hat to the bar. And I've done this probably like 3 or 4 times in the last month. And Anna keeps telling me I'm doing like straight man drag. And I'm like, I'm just dressed down. I'm just like chilling.
Straight man drag.
Yeah, she keeps. And then I was singing, okay, because I've also had this realization lately that like,
Karaoke choices.
We all know I love
Yes.
the pop girlies karaoke. I've been like, I got to do something more in my range.
You're switching to Creed.
It's even
You're
harder.
switching to Nickelback.
I literally did Creed the other night, and Anna was like, "You are fucking catfishing." She said,
"You had that one night out when you were wearing a suit at karaoke, and you got so many women hitting on you that you were like, I got to keep this attention going."
Creed only. That's what it takes. I'll get down in the gutter. I'll be a straight man for a night.
I mean, Creed has some absolute banger karaoke choices too.
No kidding. So good. With Arms Wide Open.
Really quick, I know we're already like on a sidebar of a sidebar. However, do you remember the album art for the album Weathered by Creed?
I don't. What's it look like?
Well, Geoff, it's one of the worst album covers of all time. I would love for you to Google Weathered Creed and look at that album cover because it is truly horrible.
What the fuck? This looks like a meme. It's like their faces are superimposed in a tree.
It's like the first version of Photoshop just released, and people were just messing with it on album covers, and it looks...
I'm Xing out of this and want to forget that I ever saw it.
It really looks like an Animorphs album or a book cover.
It does.
Same
okay,
aesthetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does have that same aesthetic. I do wonder if they were actually inspired by that or if they're like visual designers.
They're absolutely not inspired by that.
How do you know? How do you know?
Well, we'll have to get Creed on the pod to find out.
I think we got to call
It's the only way. We got to call Creed.
Let's call Creed. Well, I'll have my people call their people.
Scott Stapp seems like a good guy.
Scott Stapp? That's his name?
I believe that's the lead singer, yeah.
Scott Stapp. That sounds like a Parks and Rec name.
And he's a Parks and Rec type guy. He has had some controversy associated with him, actually. So,
like what?
I don't remember. I just remember, I'm sure he has a controversy section on his Wikipedia page. Let's just put it that way.
Feeling.
Well, Geoff, why don't we get into some hot topics? And I think that you will want to talk about this first hot topic, which is the announcement that Ariana Grande has made that she is releasing her 8th album, Petal, this year, July 31st, Geoff.
You're a wizard, Harry.
She released a video about the album where she said, something that is full of life and growing through the cracks of something cold and hard and challenging, describing this album, Petal.
Love that.
So, Geoff, Ariana Grande, I would say one of your favorite artists.
Absolutely.
Eternal Sunshine was your favorite album a couple years ago.
Oh, so good. So deeply underrated, it's crazy. And then her live version of the album, she did a full, like, she stood in a studio and recorded it, put it on YouTube, and did the entire album from front to back. Incredible. It's so good. You need to listen if you haven't. I am thrilled about this announcement. Remember when we theorized that she might be taking a break from music because she said she might be taking a break from music?
Yeah, and she also like is going to be in Fokker-in-Law, right? Or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Fockers-in-Law, whatever the name of that movie is. So it seemed like she was leaning into acting.
And I got to tell you, the trailer looks good. The trailer for that film looks good. I
don't know if it looks good, but Ariana's doing great. She's a great actor. She's doing great. I'm just not a big Fokker franchise fan. That's just me. That's just
okay. I'm not saying that it's like the best franchise, but Meet the Fockers, the first one, was so funny.
Meet the Parents was the first one.
Oh, you're right. Meet the Parents.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great. Meet the Fockers. There's some stuff in there that I think was a little controversial.
It's a little bit, it's not quite Scary Movie level, but it is like, I think we would go back and watch some of those early films and be like, that's a little tough.
I am so excited for this album, Petal, to come out. I wish it was coming out a little bit earlier in the summer because I feel like it's going to be a really fun album. The cover art is amazing. She's gone back to her roots. She's doing her black and white covers like she's wont to do, but this time she like looks thrilled. She looks like what's the word I want to say? Jubilant, maybe?
She has her eyes closed. She's smiling. Like her hair is across her face as if like messy. It was blown by the wind or something.
Her hair is down. She looks free. She looks just like she's in a state of euphoria. I'm very excited for this album. I think it's going to be great. I feel like she's in a very good place. She's had such like a great couple of years, and I just know that anything she puts out is going to be of high quality. So I'm thrilled for this.
Can I ask you an Ari lore question? Because I remember when we talked about Eternal Sunshine, you were talking about that album being about her kind of emerging from the other side of a breakup. So to me, that's kind of like, it was already this like, I've recovered. This is something full of life growing through the cracks of something cold and hard and challenging. So I guess I'm like, where does this album Petal, where would you speculate that it's different or new compared to Eternal Sunshine? Like, is there something going on in her life that I don't know about that can give context to this?
I wouldn't quite characterize Eternal Sunshine as like in the way that you did. I would say that Eternal Sunshine was more about her processing a breakup and like moving through it and like settling into the newness of your life with this giant void in it, and trying to remember to like keep the positivity coming in and allow space for yourself to be sad, but also try to look forward to the future. That's how I would characterize that album. This one, I think she's like, I mean, she's had an incredible couple of years. Wicked and Wicked Part 2. You know, she filmed another movie that she's really interested in doing. She's just been inspired. She got to host SNL twice. I mean, these are all things that she loves doing. She's like leaned into the acting of it all. She was like nominated for an Academy Award. She was Grammy nominated. I mean, I think she's just like in a really fun, happy stage of life. And I'm really excited to see what this is going to be like. You know, we haven't had a lot of Ari in a really good place in a long time. She's had like a lot of personal tragedy, and then of course like the bombing that happened at her concert. I think like understandably really fucked her up and like put a damper on her music career and just her general aura. So she's just basking in like the joy of all that she has worked on.
Right. Well, I'm excited to listen to it, and we will 100% be doing an episode on the album. So
first single comes out this month.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that. Exciting. Very exciting.
Speaking of coming out this month.
Okay.
Beyonce Act 3, Justin.
Okay.
She coming.
I know that there is a lot of speculation surrounding this.
Yes.
I just want to say for the record, there's not official confirmation that we will get an announcement for Act 3. However, Beyonce has cleared her Instagram. She's cleared her merch store of the Cowboy Carter merch.
That's right.
There's a long-standing speculation surrounding her announcing the album, or maybe releasing the first single, or maybe just dropping the album entirely after the Met Gala or at the Met Gala as like a surprise drop. So stay tuned, listeners. We will be covering that, of course.
It is the Sunday before the Met Gala.
The
Met Gala is tomorrow, the first Monday in May, Justin. Never forget.
I would never.
It just dawned on me that they dropped the Devil Wears Prada before the weekend of the Met Gala.
And we will certainly be getting into that during our Devil Wears Prada 2 discussion, because there are some interesting parallels there, I would say.
Sure are.
Some potential drama. So
there sure are.
We'll certainly get into that, and we'll certainly get into Act 3 if and when that releases.
What do you mean if?
I don't want to make any assumptions. I don't want to make any assumptions.
It's happening. All right, Let's move on. We got to talk about the White Lotus Season 4.
Okay, White Lotus Season 4. This is one of our favorite television shows. It's consistently entertaining. Of course, the showrunner, Mike White, and creator Mike White is just like one of the funniest guys out there.
Abs, beautiful abs.
See him on Survivor 50. Sadly, spoiler alert for Survivor 50, voted off the island relatively early in the season.
Justin, do you watch Survivor?
I have been watching this season specifically with Brandy.
How have we not discussed this? What? I didn't know you watched Survivor. I thought you were like an anti-Survivor person. I didn't think you liked competition reality.
Survivor is a weird one. I'm not like a super fan, but Brandy has been watching. Brandy and Sarah like to watch and like discuss together because Sarah is like a big Survivor head.
This is crazy. Why am I not included in this group chat?
I'm not included in it either. I'm
feeling betrayed. I've watched. Sarah knows I've been a huge Survivor fan. Sarah and I have talked about this many times. She don't talk to me about it. Sarah, you're on notice.
I will say Sarah is a loyal listener of the pod, so she will hear this. And Sarah, text Geoff.
Add me to your group chat. Damn, I got a lot of thoughts.
But yes, Mike White, creator of White Lotus, he's currently in the process of filming season 4, which takes place in France. And we've gotten news of the cast already. So this is kind of old news, but we know that the original cast, which began filming, included names that we know and love, like Chris Messina, who was in The Mindy Project, Sandra Bernhard, who was in American Horror Story.
I mean, among many other things, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just running down the list.
That's crazy that was a credit you chose to sign her. It's like, oh, Sandra Bernhard, one-time guest judge on Drag Race.
That's what was listed on the Hollywood Reporter article. Okay, so I'm pulling from that. Vincent Cassel, who was in Black Swan and Ocean's 12. The laser dancing scene will never leave my mind of Ocean's 12. Chloe Bennett, who was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the ABC Marvel television show. Max Greenfield, who was in New Girl.
Love.
Kumail Nanjiani, who, of course, got his start on Silicon Valley and is a really funny guy. Heather Graham, who is in...
Oh, my God.
Like everything.
I did not know Heather Graham was in this season.
It's a great cast. I mean, look,
this changes everything.
This is just a short, like, this is not even the full list.
These are some of the most watchable people.
Rosie Perez, who is in Orange is the New Black, and Helena Bonham Carter was originally cast in this season. And I think that we would have been very excited about her presence on the cast. She's a great actor.
I love her.
But we got news last week that Helena Bonham Carter actually left the cast. And HBO gave a statement to the Hollywood Reporter. They said, it had become apparent that the character which Mike White created for Helena Bonham Carter did not align once on set. So this seems like a creative differences thing. This happens, you know, it doesn't mean either side is being difficult or whatever. Sometimes it's just not a good fit. So Helena Bonham Carter left the cast during filming. And then a couple days later, we got news that the legend, Laura Dern, is replacing Helena Bonham Carter on White Lotus season 4, although she is taking over a new character, a brand new character, not replacing Helena Bonham Carter in her character's role. It's worth mentioning that Mike White and Laura Dern are frequent collaborators, so they've worked together before on Year of the Dog and the television show Enlightened. So
they have the opportunity to do something very funny here.
Which is
acknowledge that the worlds of Big Little Lies and the worlds of the White Lotus coexist in the same universe, and have her be Renata Klein.
Oh my God.
I think it would be so fucking good. I would love if she comes on the show as Renata on vacation.
The Big Little Lies cinematic universe begins.
For real. From the mind of Mike White.
There is like a real thematic, or like, I guess, vibes overlap between Big Little Lies and White Lotus. So
I think this would be fucking genius. I really need to see Renata Klein at the White Lotus in the south of France. Also, I was upset that I was drinking earlier when you said that it was taking place in France, because immediately in my mind I thought about the Miss Universe pageant people, screaming their names, France! Remember that?
I do.
Good times.
Yeah, so obviously we can't wait for this season of television.
I'm thrilled. It better be Renata. Justin, now I have this in my mind. I'm like, it can't not be Renata Klein.
They are both HBO properties, right?
This is what I'm saying.
It could happen.
Okay, but... and then have Celeste Wright, Nicole Kidman's character, call her on the phone while she's on vacation, have her on speakerphone at something, being like, just checking in to see how you are.
Nicole Kidman voice cameo. Yeah.
It would be great. This is genius, I'm telling you. Mike White, hire me. I'm a huge Survivor fan. I'm a huge fan of your new abs. Good for you. And I'm a huge fan of White Lotus. Love it.
Well, Geoff, something that I suspect that you won't love very much.
Okay. But Justin, we were keeping everything very positive here. This has been a very fun and positive episode so far. And now you're going to take it down?
Well, I'm excited for this. So we got to mention it. And Geoff, this is the director of your favorite movie of last year, Zach Cregger. Zach Cregger and Sony Pictures has released the trailer for his next film, Resident Evil, which of course is an adaptation of the long-running video game series. This is now the second film adaptation. There was a very long, I think 7-film series of Resident Evil films that came out from Paul W.S. Anderson. And those were kind of like a little bit schlocky, a little bit pulpy. This new Resident Evil vibe from Zach Cregger looks more straight up horror. Geoff, have you watched the trailer? Are you excited for this film?
I did watch the trailer. I'm not excited for the film, as you might have guessed.
I did indeed guess.
Why do you want to watch that?
What do you mean, why do I want to watch?
It's like, haven't we done this before? We've had The Walking Dead. We've had all the other Resident Evil movies. We've had 28 Days Later. We had 28 Years Later. We got 28 Months Later. 28 Decades Later. I mean, the list goes on and on. I don't think that we need another zombie type movie.
Some of those movies did not exist, but
okay, well,
I think that, horror movies are so versatile in the types of themes that they can cover. I guess I just don't like, what's the difference? Where's the link or the lack of a link between something like Weapons or even Barbarian, which was Zach Cregger's first film, and Resident Evil? Like, I just don't get what it is about specifically Resident Evil. I mean, this is the same creator.
Firstly, that video game came out when we were like young. And I was at a sleepover, and my friends were like playing it on PlayStation or Xbox, whatever the fuck it was. You know, I'm a Nintendo girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is scary. And it's like dark outside and it's nighttime, and like these creatures could be lurking outside the house right now. Like the
The
killer,
zombies.
this might be the original of the killer. This might be the origin of the killer
So
in my
you were
mind.
worried about zombies
Yeah.
outside.
It was like, I'll tell you about this. I had a very traumatic sick day once. I was 7 years old.
Okay. That's good context.
I was laying on the couch. I didn't feel well. It was absolutely pouring rain. I had strep throat. And then afterwards, I got an ear infection that turned into like my third or fourth set of inner ear tubes I had to get because of it.
Oh.
So this was actually a traumatic sickness for me, illness.
And this is, of course, when the zombies attacked.
Well, no, Justin. It was pouring rain, very dark. Like it was pitch black outside in the middle of the day. Like I stayed home from school and it was pouring, big storm, thunder clapping. My dad thought it'd be a good idea for us to watch Jurassic Park. And you know what scene I'm talking about here?
Of course, the iconic T-Rex scene.
That's
with
exactly
the rain.
right.
Yeah.
And with the thunder booming and the T-Rex stomping around and watching the water cup shake, I said, this dinosaur is in my neighborhood. I was frightened. I literally got off the couch and ran upstairs to my bedroom.
Well, Geoff, here's an important difference between
It's
that story and today when you're watching the Resident Evil trailer is that now you are a grown man.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that.
Well, Justin, that doesn't stop your inner child's fears from coming out. I'll say this.
Okay.
I don't want the zombie... that scene of the arms coming out of the doorway in the Zach Cregger trailer, artfully done. Terrifying.
I'm very hyped for this. So I love the video games, especially like the first couple of Resident Evil 1 and 2 and the remakes of those games. I actually was kind of late to discovering those, but the vibe of this trailer is matching the tone of those games in a way that the original film series did not really.
Yeah.
You have the main character who's played by, I believe his name's Austin Abrams, who was in Weapons. He's like searching through the drawers of this seemingly abandoned house for like ammo or some kind of materials, which is very much like what you're doing a lot of the time in the Resident Evil games.
I don't like that.
And I just feel like Zach Cregger going full balls to the wall, kind of like zombie horror, is like an exciting prospect for me. I'm quite excited for this one, but I respect your taste. Yeah,
I'm glad for you. Let's take it back up and quickly talk about this.
Sure.
A hard pivot into something fun.
Resident Evil is fun.
What? This is very straight culture, I think. That might be the difference here. No. I think Resident Evil is very straight culture, and Olivia Rodrigo is very not that.
This is a longer conversation. I think that Resident Evil has a significant queer fan base.
Okay. Well, I'm not that fan base then.
Yeah, well, clearly.
Maybe I'm just too
evolved.
Maybe I'm too bubblegum. I think my inner child is too bubblegum for Resident Evil, you know?
It's just fascinating to me because Weapons is like very not bubblegum, but
the thing about Weapons that is really good and interesting to me is like there A is a camp factor, B there is like a mystery factor that I feel like most horror, like that kind of like cerebral thinking eludes most horror films and stories. And I also feel like there is a bit of like in addition to it being mystery, it's also a little bit puzzle box because you're also seeing it from the perspective of multiple different people and trying to figure out whose reality should we trust and believe and how are all these people going to come together to solve this issue or problem.
Yeah, it remains to be seen what the film will be like because all we know is the trailer at this point. But I will say that Resident Evil famously is quite campy.
Interesting. Okay.
In the first game, you start in like an abandoned mansion and you're like searching and it gets increasingly more and more ridiculous. Like this mansion has like a bunch of booby traps and stuff. And it's like almost Scooby-Doo craziness. Like, and things just like escalate and escalate and escalate. And eventually you find out that there's like this horrible corporation that's been like, you know, like making zombies or whatever. Like bio weapon has been released. It's very campy and like mustache twirling villain type stuff in the video game.
This is interesting.
Zach Cregger, I feel like, if anybody has the ability to pull off that tone, it's him, you know? So I'm curious to see what the film is like. If he just goes straight up, like kind of mean horror, lots of gore, lots of like straight up just violence and stuff, or if he tries to kind of hit that interesting tightrope walk of a tone that the games have, which is like kind of tough to do, but
I will say the trailer looked well done, and I felt they did a really good job of creating tension. Mm-hmm. No hate on Mr. Cregger.
We love Cregger. Some of us can't handle the juice that he provides sometimes. Right. Geoff, something that I think we're both excited about.
Yes, Olivia Rodrigo. She hosted SNL last night and was a musical guest. And she released one of her new songs off her upcoming album. And that song is called Begged. Justin, did you watch the performance?
I did watch the performance. And to clarify a little bit, this is not yet available on streaming, but you can watch the performance on YouTube from SNL.
That's right.
This is a bit of a vibe shift from Drop Dead. So Drop Dead, is written from the perspective of Olivia on a first date with somebody. And this Begged song is much more of a ballad. It's acoustic instrumentation, at least during the performance on SNL. Remains to be seen what the studio version sounds like. It's a little bit more traditional Olivia Rodrigo in that she is back to her kind of emo sad girl vibes here, where she is seemingly begging her partner, for, I guess, like love and affection.
Yeah, attention.
And she's saying, it doesn't feel like what you're giving me is anything if I have to beg for it, basically, which, this is a little bit more of like a complicated relationship dynamic than Drop Dead, where she's just kind of like infatuated with this person. So now this kind of recontextualizes the name of the album for me. Maybe this is a heartbreak album. Maybe this is a breakup album in a similar vein to her previous stuff. So very interesting. The song itself, it's cute. I'm not a ballad guy typically. I like it.
You aren't a ballad guy.
But it doesn't hit the same way that Drop Dead for me. What did you think of it?
I really liked it, and I liked the stripped back nature of it. And I am curious to hear if that was just like a special, more acoustic style performance for SNL, or if she decided to do that on the actual production on the album. Mm-hmm. Very curious. I like the subject matter of the song. It does feel very O-Rod, very typical O-Rod stuff.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's good. You got to do what you know.
And Olivia Rodrigo certainly knows how to do sad girl stuff. Yeah.
She sure does. Well, Justin, one more thing that I thought was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about it.
Okay. You may recall that back in, when was it? I want to say it was like in 2024. Or maybe it was earlier this year. I can't really remember. There were these three brothers in Texas who were here seeking asylum. So they were going through the legal process.
Yeah.
Everything was hunky-dory. Three very talented boys, they're young kids, young singers, good singers. And they are part of a mariachi band. And their family, I think the boys are between 12 and 18, all of them, were arrested alongside their parents at a scheduled court check-in, because, when you're doing the asylum or immigration process, you have like routine check-ins that you have to do at an immigration court.
Yeah, and ISIS started camping out outside those courts, which is heinous.
Cowardice. Cowardly. Lazy work, by the way. Like, at least put some effort in, guys. Come on now. Get the right shoes also. Everybody out here running around, they're fucking Payless New Balances. It's ridiculous. Anyway, the family fled from cartel members in Mexico, came into the U.S. through asylum in 2013. They were living in McAllen, Texas, going through all the process that they were supposed to do. ICE picked them up and arrested them. Kacey Musgraves, lovely Texas woman.
We love Kacey.
Lovely left-leaning woman. We saw her in concert. She was fantastic.
Space
and then she
Kacey,
also
baby.
was dancing just about 10 feet away from us while we watched the 1975. It was excellent.
She was vibing to 1975. Yeah, that was very fun.
So fun. Anyways, love Kacey Musgraves. She is doing a tour for her new album. And in May, just a few days from now, actually, I think the first show's tonight. Is the 3rd. Yes,
exciting.
May 3rd. She has given the brothers, Antonio, Caleb, and Joshua Gámez-Cuéllar, I'm going to mess this up. Gámez-Cuéllar, I think might be how you say their name. Gámez-Cuéllar?
Could be Cuéllar.
Cuéllar.
Double L. Yeah.
That makes sense. You took Spanish. Antonio, Caleb, and Joshua Gámez-Cuéllar, also known as the Mariachi Brothers, are opening for her shows in Texas for the next 3 nights. Very exciting shit.
Love it. Love it.
I love that she's giving them a job. I love that she's giving them more exposure. And I love that they're going to have the opportunity to no longer be so famous for this horrible thing that happened to them and are now going to be known by a lot of Kacey Musgraves fans because of this opportunity. It's amazing.
Yeah. Kacey's really cool. Have you listened to the new album at all? Middle of Nowhere?
Okay, I have not, but I did already download it to my Spotify.
Okay.
Because, I love Kacey. Have you listened to it?
I've listened to a little bit of it. I actually really liked her previous album, Deeper Well, which was a little bit controversial in the fan base.
That's interesting, yes, because I didn't really love that album.
It's very folksy, much more folk music than country, and it seems like she's gone back more country vibes for this new one. I've listened to the single, which I forget the name of, but it's basically about how she's horny. I can't remember the name of the song.
I feel like a lot of her music is about
It's called Dry Spell. That's what it's called, Dry Spell.
Oh, love it.
So yeah, that's it's a fun song and very cool. And I've listened to the first like half of the album, and it's pretty. I'm not really a country guy myself. I don't just vibe with the genre as a whole, but it's cool.
As discussed on the pod,
we've discussed many times on the pod.
Oh man, I still play Golden Hour though. That is a fucking great album.
Iconic album. Yeah.
Damn.
Well, Geoff, speaking of iconic, why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back to talk about The Devil Wears Prada 2, the sequel, of course, to the iconic 2006 film. We'll be right back. Geoff, we're so back. And today we have the privilege of discussing the film The Devil Wears Prada 2. This is, of course, the sequel to the original that came out in 2006. And that film was based on a 2003 novel by Lauren Weisberger. Weisberger was in real life an assistant to Anna Wintour. And the novel that she wrote is based on her real life experiences at Vogue when Anna Wintour was working there. The whole crew is back, Geoff, from the original film. David Frankel returns as director. Aline Brosh McKenna returns as the screenwriter. We have Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, Meryl Streep, Stanley Tucci, all returning as their characters from the first film. Mm-hmm. And we have a couple of new cast members, actually many new cast members, but I would say the biggest two are Justin Theroux and Lucy Liu, who are playing new characters in this film. And the premise in general is that Andy, of course, Anne Hathaway's character, is hired back to Runway, which is the Vogue stand-in, to help save the floundering publication after scandal hits. So, Geoff, before we get into the sequel, really quickly, what's your history with the original The Devil Wears Prada? Because I think we could probably have an entire pod about that original film.
Of course we could. A podcast about The Devil Wears Prada?
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, The Devil Wears Prada, I mean, I think it's just like a bastion of culture for our generation. It's something that I think I've watched 20 to 25 times.
Wow.
It was huge in college. It's how I made a lot of friends because I hosted like some movie nights in my room, and people would come from like down the hall and from downstairs and watch the film. And it's great. I love that film. The fashion was fantastic. The filmography was great. It made me want to go to New York, and I did because of that movie.
Yeah. That movie, so I have had an interesting relationship with that over the years. So I think I've seen it less than you, but I've watched it at least 3 times. And when I watched it for the first time, I might have seen it like in bits and pieces when I was much younger, like when I was a teenager. But I think the first time that I really watched it, I was in grad school. So I came to it pretty late. I think so.
What? Justin, this is crazy.
I had like a knee-jerk reaction to it the first time that I watched it because Meryl Streep's character, Miranda Priestley, which is, of course, the Anna Wintour stand-in here. She is like a really toxic boss character. And I think that like that a lot of what that first film is about is kind of like your first job in your 20s after you graduate from college. And you kind of have to figure out how to actually be good at your job. It's not just like people aren't going to just hand you stuff. There's going to be tough and difficult people that you have to deal with. And you have to kind of learn on your own and like mold yourself into what you need to be for the job. And I had a great relationship with my grad school mentor, but a lot of people that I knew in grad school did not. And academia, similar to like the industry that Andy finds herself in the original film, you know, lots of people that are very ambitious, lots of people with big personalities, often, you know, problematic leaders in that field. And so I had a very naive and simple reaction to the film the first time I watched it. And I was like, this is like a toxic depiction of like a workplace.
So you felt like it was glorifying that sort of environment?
If not glorifying, it was like apologetic to Miranda Priestly as a character, you know? So I think it was like letting her off or at least when I first watched it, I felt like it was kind of letting her off the hook. The other 2 times that I've watched it, subsequent times, I'm always like, Miranda Priestly is such a complicated character here. And what's interesting about the first film is that Andy is able to, she's clearly shaped by Miranda Priestly, and Miranda brings out the best in her in a lot of ways. But Andy also recognizes the toxic aspects of that relationship and chooses to carve her own path, which I think is what makes it this kind of Bildungsroman coming of age story for Andy. And I think that's what really makes it an incredible film, you know, and I've it's grown on me a lot in the last 2 times that I've watched it. So culture defining movie. I think that this introduced people, at least of a certain generation, to Meryl Streep, who of course at this time had already won many Oscars, but still I was not really familiar with Meryl Streep before Devil Wears Prada. So
yeah, I certainly wasn't. I wasn't watching Kramer versus Kramer or Sophie's Choice.
You weren't watching like 70s cinema as a
like
teenager?
16.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So this is like really big for our generation. I mean, also a big breakout for Emily Blunt. This was her like first major role from what I remember.
This was her second film that she ever did. And obviously her first breakout hit. The first one I think was some indie movie.
Yeah.
Yes, this was like a career making film for her. I think it was like a redefining for the other 3 stars of the film, Anne Hathaway, who before this had done like movies for kids. Anne Hathaway, previous to that, did Elle Enchanted and Princess Diaries 1 and 2. And I can't remember. I don't think she had done Rachel Getting Married at this point, which is one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite Anne Hathaway performances of all time. I think that might have come after this. So I think this was like the first time that people were seeing like, no longer seeing like little Annie Hathaway, and we're seeing like, oh, Anne Hathaway.
But she's also still has that like girl next door vibe to her, I think, which is why she's really well cast in the first film, I think, because she has that kind of like doe-eyed. She's very green.
She's eager beaver.
Yeah. But she doesn't really know what the fuck she's doing. You know, she shows up to a Vogue interview being like, or a runway interview, being like, I'm not really into fashion. I mean, come on, girl.
Right. But you know what? I mean, like, that was so me. I'm sure that I was 20s. Like that. Yeah. Exactly. You're figuring it all out. That is something that I love about the first movie is you really are getting a sense of what it's like to just be dropped into workplaces like a young person who's like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, but actually has no clue what they're doing or what it feels like to work, or like how office dynamics and politics go down.
Exactly. It is a great film. And that's all lead up to talk about the sequel to that film. So Geoff, what did you think of The Devil Wears Prada 2?
At the very beginning, I was like, oh no, there's a little too much convenience here, and I think that this is going to be bad. But not to spoil, I think that the way things wrap up explains the setup of the second film. And aside from that moment, I was like, oh my God, this film is really well done. What I liked about this is that it was not pure like nostalgia fan service kind of work. They were really trying to say something different. I think that this film overall is kind of an ode to the idea of like preservation and an ode to the idea of art for the sake of art.
Yeah.
In a world that like no longer really values that in the way that it used to when the first film came out. What was your overview of the film?
Yeah, well, I mean, I went in with low expectations, like it sounds like you may have as well. And, you know, we have these legasequels all the time, and often they're pretty bad.
Legasequel, I love that. I never heard that term.
And I think that it's basically as good as you can possibly hope for. I guess it could have been there. I have a couple of nitpicks here and there. Like there was some fan service that I think was unnecessary. There are some subplots that I think are absolutely unnecessary.
Oh, I know exactly what you're thinking of, and I agree.
There are like a couple of kind of like a little bit cheesy moments, but like what this does that was really surprising to me, and I think this comes from having the same screenwriter, Aline Broche McKenna, as the first film, who has been following this space, right? Like media, magazines, fashion over the last 20 years since the original film. she's been following this, and this movie is really about the state of media, right? The first movie takes for granted that people want to work at Runway. Like, this is a cultural force. Miranda Priestley is like a god in this world, right? Like, that's 100%. Kind of the underlying premise of the film.
Don't be silly, Andrea. Everyone wants to be us.
Exactly. And the thing that is so like foundation shattering about this world is that nobody wants to be Runway anymore. Like, Runway is more just an asset in the pocket of like a billionaire owner now.
Yep.
And that is something that has changed. I mean, you could kind of see the writing on the wall in 2006, I think, about where magazines were headed. But at that time, magazines and print media were still very powerful.
100%, because the iPhone hadn't been invented yet. So you couldn't easily like scroll the internet and swipe like we do now. It was like, remember the old internet on like our first like archaic cell phones where it would like take 10 minutes to load, and you could basically go on email and do Google image search, and then everything else. There was like no web first kind of website. So the website would be like this big on your phone, and you would have to like zoom way in and look at stuff and read it like that. It was crazy.
Right.
It wasn't possible.
So the only way to do this film is to address the state of media and how that's changed, right?
Of course.
While the first film is clearly about fashion, to me, it was always about more Andy's journey as a character and her finding herself and what she wanted to do with her life, to kind of like take a little bit of a different route and be like, this is now more about the media landscape. Was interesting. And again, I think the only way you can make a film like this.
Yes, I think it was a smart decision.
There's a lot of like little Easter eggs that make it clear that who are like the screenwriter, McKenna, like knows this world really well. Like, there is a scene where consultants come in to talk about Runway, how Runway is being managed. McKinsey is name dropped. And that is like a very clear reference to in 2009 when McKinsey was hired by Condé Nast, which is the parent company of Vogue, to basically slim down their offerings, and resulted in the closing of, I think, like a third of their magazines, which was like a huge...
Details, gone. Cargo, gone.
Gourmet.
Teen Vogue.
There were so many magazines that were shuttered because of this McKinsey thing. So like, this is a very lived in and real experience. And I think, you know, living in DC, I have a lot of friends who are in media and people who you might not expect to be big fans of, like The Devil Wears Prada, right? But they're like, this movie gave me like PTSD because of how real it was about the way that media is like completely blowing up. And to your point about how the movie is kind of like an ode to art for art's sake. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit on the pod. Like, there's a character here who is basically like the CEO of, I forget what the fake company name is, but it's basically Condé Nast, right? There's a character who's the CEO of Condé Nast.
Irv, and it's Elias Clark.
Elias Clark, right? So he's the CEO of Elias Clark Irv. Thank you. And he is a guy that just believes in the value of Runway, right? It's just like a philosophy that he has.
Old school dude.
He's a business guy and he's kind of a shithead in some ways, right? But he at least values Runway as a property.
Yeah, because there's a legacy. His father started the firm. His father he was a publisher. He started Elias Clark, and then he passed it on to Irv, and then Irv was like, I am a steward for this like huge international company that provides real value and like meaning to the lives of its readers, and I have to ensure that its legacy is upheld. That is kind of his whole ethos, which is very old school, and it's not like compatible with the way that businesses operate today.
Right. And the problem is that those types of CEOs, those business leaders, are dying out, literally and figuratively, right?
Yes.
Like, we now have this new generation of, for lack of a better word, like kind of tech bro types, or like MBA, Harvard MBA types that are like, the BJ Novak is in this film playing a character in that lane, and he's always wearing AirPods, and he's always wearing like athleisure and like sneakers, you know what I mean? And
his
that's
fucking Patagonia quarter zip vest or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's coming in, he's just like, I'm disrupting this whole thing, you know what I mean? And that character is who is running a lot of these media websites and properties now.
100%.
And to see, I guess it's kind of like a lack of respect for art as art, like you said, right?
Yep.
And then where does that leave somebody like Anna Wintour, or in the world of the film, Miranda Priestley? It's really interesting to see her on her back foot in this film, because she was such a powerhouse in the first film, and it gives Meryl Streep a lot more to do. Not that, I mean, she was eating the scenery. Don't get me wrong. First movie, incredible performance from Meryl Streep. Shocker. Groundbreaking. But she has like a more complicated arc here. Like I think she was kind of a immovable object in the first movie, right? Like nothing could
she was
affect
Satan.
her. Literally, she was the devil, the titular devil who's wearing Prada. And here she has an arc. And I think this is much more Miranda's film than it is Andy's film. If I have like one like screenwriting thing, I feel like Andy's arc is not really that compelling. There's a side plot that I'm assuming it's the same thing that you were thinking of when I brought it up. It's like a romance subplot with this guy who that is just completely lifeless. I mean, that entire subplot could be cut from the movie and it wouldn't change anything.
I agree. I actually kind of think it should have been.
That, I think, was the attempt at giving Andy an arc, you know, where she finds somebody who she can be in a partnership with. But I just think that's kind of very throwaway, maybe like studio note type stuff. And unfortunately, Andy has a little bit less to do. Not to, you know, Anne Hathaway gives a great performance, I think, but her character is a little bit less compelling in this film than she was in the first.
I agree. There was a moment or two where I felt like the old dynamic that Andy and Miranda had and Andy, Emily and Miranda had resurged. And I was like, how are we back here? I'm like, this doesn't quite make sense to me. And I agree with you about the romantic subplot thing. I just don't think it added anything of value to the movie. I thought the actor was perfectly charming. I did not feel that they had any chemistry together. And I just felt like it was probably 10 minutes wasted in the movie that could have been devoted to something much more interesting. Like more between like Nigel and Andy, I think would have been entertaining because there was a lot of that in the first film. And while we do get some like head nods to it in this film, I feel like they didn't have a ton of like great interactions, or you didn't see like the real respect and care that they have for each other as much as you do in the first.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Emily Blunt's character, who we haven't talked about. So her name also Emily in the film. And she was in the original film like kind of the number one assistant to Miranda.
I'm the first assistant, which means you do the coat.
Yes, that's exactly right. And in this film, she has left Runway and she is now, I don't know what her official title is, but she leads like retail at Dior.
Yes. I think she's like the creative director of retail stores.
A high power position by all accounts. And she has, of course, as she has always had in the first film as well, like a contentious relationship with Andy. Although the relationship she had with Miranda, she was kind of like a loyalist, a Miranda loyalist in the first film. And now we don't know why initially, but she has a testy relationship with Miranda in this film, which I find interesting.
Adversarial.
Yeah. That's another thing. Like the way that the media landscape has shifted now. In the first film, Miranda, you know, she has the list, right? She has this list of models, designers,
photographers,
exactly,
publishers.
That if she left Vogue or Runway, they would go with her, right? These advertisers, they depend on Vogue, Runway for their business.
Stop saying Vogue.
It's
Runway.
But it's Vogue. I mean, it's
no,
Vogue.
It's not.
It's quite literally Vogue.
Justin,
there's so many parallels.
It's Runway.
They depend on Runway for their business. And now in the current media landscape, Runway depends on brands like Dior, advertisers, to exist at all.
Yeah, I did think that was fascinating because we went from the first movie where Miranda had all the power that she wielded as she saw fit and with an iron fist. And now she's really like no longer like she has the title and she has like some kind of institutional credibility and power, but for the rest of the world, they're like, you need us. We don't need you.
And it's very interesting. I mean, if you were to just read the screenplay without like all of the flashy visuals and the Lady Gaga songs and etc., it's pretty bleak, right? Because like Miranda is this person who clearly has a passion for fashion. Oh God.
Yeah.
She has a passion for fashion and she is good at her job. I will never forget the cerulean sweater speech from the first film,
of course,
which is just like absolutely incredible and shows how much influence that Runway has on just culture, right? Whether or not people know it, the peons on the street know it, they are influenced by this. So she's clearly good at her job. She has taste, but she's like reduced to groveling for scraps, like to keep her job at Runway and even to keep Runway open and like a thing.
That's part of what I love about this film. It's like it still has the glitz and the glamour, but if you turn the rock over, there are a lot of millipedes and centipedes underneath there. And you don't really get the sense of that in the first film because that's not the world of the first film. in the second film, it really is like, yeah, we still have like all this like glitz and glamour, but like underneath it all, this is like a crumbling empire.
Yeah. I mean, it resonates with me. Anybody in our generation who have seen like a lot of these cultural institutions that we grew up loving basically just become, again, items in billionaires' pockets, right?
Yeah,
and
relics of the past.
And it's sad. And well, we'll get into specifics later, but this movie does not like present an answer to that. It's basically just like, we're doing everything that we can to keep doing what we love.
Yeah. They're adapting. I mean, that is part of what is great about Miranda Priestly, is that she is always looking ahead. And the people around her, very few of them are also doing that. I would say Nigel's the only other character who is truly a visionary and is looking ahead and knows what's coming. They've got their eye around the corner already. Everyone else is like constantly in the state of panic about the industry in general because they can't see what's coming next. And Miranda always knows. And that's, to relate it back to Vogue in real life, that is part of Anna Wintour's like genius, is that she also has that, keeping her eye around the corner, understands what's coming. She was the first person to be like, we are going to sell more magazines if we put like A-list celebrities on the covers. That was not done. Vogue, until Anna Wintour took over, was just like models on the cover.
Right.
And she was like, we need to not do close-ups of models. We need to like zoom out and put celebrities and really highlight the fashion and give them a reason, or give people a reason to read Vogue when they haven't before, because Oprah Winfrey's on the cover and it's a bunch of people who really love Oprah but aren't necessarily into high fashion. So I think that was one thing that the screenwriters took from the real life experience of Lauren Weisberger and Anna Wintour, and I think successfully translated.
It's a fascinating parallel because, like you said, putting celebrities on the cover was considered kind of gauche, the same way that like Instagrammers being in fashion now is kind of arguably, depending on who you ask, considered gauche. Yeah. The difference is, I mean, I guess I would be interested to, I don't know that much about that time in history, right, in fashion, but I'm curious whether it felt like media, or at least the fashion industry, was in such dire straits at that time that Anna Wintour had to come in and save it, or if she was just like bringing it to a new pop position.
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter. I don't think that things were in dire straits, but I do feel like, Anna saw the potential to really elevate fashion and make it more mainstream in a way without losing the glamour factor. I think she saw that people were curious and interested in looking for something new and different. But I mean, like, Vogue in the like mid 90s to like, I would actually say like early 90s until like 2005, 2006 was enormously impactful and really influenced everything in pop culture.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say when I said like the pop level, is that I feel like before Anna Wintour, maybe it was very influential among elites and like people who were invested with fashion. And then Anna Wintour brought it to the masses in a lot of ways, made it into 100%. A mass market product with this presence of celebrities that everybody knows and loves.
And something else that she did that I think was really fantastic is that she editorialized fashion. Like, there was a real story, there was a real narrative almost behind every photo shoot that they did, every article that they did. Because if you look at Vogue like in the 80s or before that, it was really just like, pretty women smiling and wearing nice clothing, and that was it. It was just like almost like a catalog, really.
Yeah,
with articles in it, of course. But Vogue, she really was like, okay, we're gonna take models and put them in high fashion and drop them off in the middle of the African Sahara. And, that's going to, you know what I mean?
Which is something that was referenced in the film, right? In Devil Wears Prada too. Like, they used to have a budget to go do international photo shoots, and now they have like a 1/10 the budget to make like Instagram reels.
Exactly. In like a studio in Manhattan or Queens. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess like the difference there is that feels like a compression or a flattening, right? 100%. Whereas Anna's / Miranda's moves earlier to like popularize Vogue / runway felt like a broadening, right? Like
absolutely,
like an opening up.
It was an expansion and contraction.
Why don't we get into some spoilery stuff? Because I do want to kind of dig into the specifics of how the media landscape changes in the world of the film.
Let's spoil.
What's up, y'all? Editor Justin here. If you want to skip spoilers for The Devil Wears Prada 2, you can go ahead and skip to 1:26:45. Let's get back to the show.
Spoilers abound, F-slurs.
So I think that most of the plot of this movie has to do with saving Runway, basically, right?
Right.
Runway is at threat from multiple different levels. There is the initial scandal, which is kind of doesn't matter what the scandal is, honestly, but it was like a sweatshop company, basically. So a company that was running a sweatshop and had lied to Runway about it. And they published a story that popularized the brand. And then it came out later that they were running a sweatshop. And that's kind of the inciting incident that allows Andy to be rehired at Runway.
By the way, a little thin for me in terms of like a catalyst of destruction for this company.
Yeah, it was quite contrived, but you got to get these characters in the same room again. Like, I get it. I guess it makes sense because Andy is laid off from her very like high profile journalist, quote unquote, important journalism job, which again, another sign of the times. Like, this is something that is happening everywhere, right?
Yeah, she was literally in the movie, like one of the first scenes getting ready for, which was a nice callback to the first film when she's getting ready for her first day at Runway magazine.
Right.
She's getting ready for an awards ceremony, a very like low key awards ceremony at some hotel lobby for journalists. And then right as she's about to accept her award, her entire table gets a text message that they've all been fired.
Laid off. Yeah. Which is happening, across newsrooms all over the place. So that part feels believable. And I mean, I guess it makes sense that she would then take a job that's offered to her at Runway because it pays well and she needs a job. Right. So like that tracks, but it does feel a little bit like a backtrack from the decision that she made in the first film to leave Runway and join The Mirror, this fictional paper, The Mirror. But it makes sense, I guess, in the context of like the media landscape that we live in.
Well, okay, but let's talk about the plot here because I think it is important in our critique of the film overall. Because I think one thing that I'm assuming you probably felt, but I also felt was, during the midst of the scandal, all these memes and things are coming out about Miranda Priestly being like terrible and a relic of the past and somebody who needs to be replaced, and that Runway should basically be shuttered because they're glorifying sweatshops facilities. And we cut to a scene of the CEO of Elias Clark, and his son, who we previously mentioned is portrayed by BJ Novak, in a car, and receives a video of Andy giving an impassioned speech that happens off camera about the state of journalism and how, it's awful that people are just being, basically that news matters and that people who are making the news are really important members of society. And they get a message, or they get sent a video from this, and they're like, oh, wait a second, this girl used to work at Runway, and she just had this like semi-viral moment of her giving an impassioned speech about the importance of journalism. We should hire her to come in and fix this mess that Miranda has created at Runway, which felt convenient, very convenient.
Okay, a couple of thoughts about this, because I think that
tell me.
You brought this up earlier, but I think it's important that BJ Novak's character, the son of the CEO, is the one who brings this to the CEO as an option, right? And this signifies, I think, the transition to personality-based journalists, right?
Yes.
Like everything else, right? Everything is personality-based now. Instead of it being like institution-based, we have like specific journalists that have a public persona. Often they're starting Substacks now or whatever. So like a viral video clip like that is priceless in the world of media, right? Because this is going to get you eyes on social media, and people will subscribe to your newsletter or whatever. So it tracks to me in the current media landscape that this would be what gets her hired.
That's a good point.
We come around at the end of the film to learn that it was actually Nigel who tipped BJ Novak's character to say, hey, we should hire this girl. And that to me actually like kind of, it felt a little bit too cute to me. Like,
what, Justin?
I was just like, we know that Nigel loves Andy. Like, this is not like a twist of any kind. Like, he's constantly showing love to Andy and has eating lunch with her in the cafeteria. And I was like, did we need this?
Yes, we did need this.
It felt to me like it kind of undercuts the initial like thought, which is like, this is the only reason why she got hired is because of this viral video, which again is ironic given that she's talking about the importance of media, right? And then she's only hired based on an Instagram reel. So
okay, so that's actually part of why I think that it's great that it was Nigel. I think also we needed to see more of Nigel and Andy together, because in the first film, he really does sort of treat her as like a surrogate daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't necessarily feel that much warmth from him in this film. So I'm glad that we had that, because he was like, there was a moment where he was like, "Oh, you're forever my girl," and that was at the end. That was at the end.
Yeah,
he's like, "You're always my girl," and
it was a little bit too.
Justin,
it was a more complicated and like gray area relationship in the first film.
No, it was not. I don't agree. I think that Nigel was like, at first, I think he was like very trepidatious about her, and also thought she was like a misfit. But he's like, "I'm going to try to help her, but I just don't think this is going to work out," because she basically comes to him begging for his help and be like, "Please help me get my outfits together. Help me get a fashion sense." And he's like begrudgingly does it because she like pesters him about it. And then he becomes a fan of hers because he realizes that she's
good,
eager to learn. She wants to do well, and she is capable. And so like, I do think that we have like a nice arc in that first film, and that we see by the end of it, he's very fond of her.
Yeah.
And I assumed that they would stay in touch after she left Runway. So I was a little bit surprised that they didn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, so they had this like, I don't know, less than a year stint at Runway where Andy was at Runway, or maybe it was a couple years, I don't know, but it felt like it was a relatively short amount of time that she was at Runway. And then 20 years pass. They're not really keeping in touch during that time, it seems like, based on Devil Wears Prada 2. And then he's like, "Oh, I just had this thought. Let me just send off this reel to BJ Novak and get Andy hired, because she's always going to..." It just felt a little bit too like fan servicey to be like, people love that relationship, so we have to have him be the one that does it.
This is crazy. Okay,
it felt very like Marvel, Easter egg type stuff to me.
Oh, how dare you besmirch the good name of the Devil Wears Prada by saying it felt like Marvel fan service.
This is a nitpick, but it did feel very fan servicey to me.
Justin, okay, well, we needed an amount of fan service, and I think that was an appropriate way to do it. I'm glad they didn't reprise a bunch of stupid lines from the first movie and like try to work them into the I said a bunch. A couple is tolerable and allowed. But it didn't ruin the movie.
It was not embarrassing. Which is the most important thing, right? Like,
yes, I agree. I didn't want it to be like, "Oh boy," like an eye roll type.
Exactly.
I think it was important. I loved it, and the reason that I think, now that I'm thinking back to it, fashion and Runway are Nigel's like life. He lives and breathes it. He loves it. She walked away from it, so because they no longer have this thing in common, like, there's really not a huge amount of reason to stay in touch, because she like walked away from something that he's extremely passionate about and has devoted his entire life to. So I can kind of understand it more.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm trying to think back to the first film. We don't actually see a reaction from Nigel about her leaving, right? So it's hard to know how he felt about it at the time. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And so that's what I was thinking about when you said that.
Speaking of Nigel,
yes,
I saw him after I rewatched the first film before I saw the second one, and I felt like I was cemented into my thought that Nigel is kind of a tragic character in the first movie, right? Because he's so clearly talented, and Miranda treats him like her workhorse. And I was kind of hoping, or I was wondering, I guess, I don't know if I was hoping for it or not, but I was wondering whether he would have left Runway following the events of the first film, because he's constantly just like being looked over for promotions or like, having agency at Runway, and he's more just kind of being Miranda's workhorse, right?
Yes.
And it was sad to me. And I felt like Andy may have thought to herself, okay, my options here at Run, part of the reason she left is because she sees either my option here is to be like hyper competent but never praised Nigel, or to be, quite literally the devil Miranda. Right? Like those are my two options here. And I don't like that dynamic. So I'm going to leave and find my own way. So it was sad to see Nigel in the exact same place 20 years later. I think that what was intended to be kind of like one of the climactic or most important events of Miranda's arc is that she does finally at some point say, thanks to Andy's kind of prompting, "Oh, I have been overlooking or taking for granted Nigel's hard work," which Miranda's an interesting character because I think that she's best when she's in shades of gray and complicated. But this was definitely a turn where she became a lot more likable, right? From an audience perspective. And I was wondering how you felt about that. Seeing like Nigel get his flowers finally, as opposed to where he ended the first film, which was again kind of stuck in the mines, the Runway mines.
Yeah, I liked it. I think that I wasn't at all surprised that he was still there and still in like the same kind of number 2 position. There's in life I have learned in like the multiple places I've worked, there are always number 1s and there are always number 2s, and those people never will cross the line to get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one who's number 1 is ever going to willingly take a step down, and they'll just leave. And a number 2, because they're so competent and they're so good, no one's ever going to give them the opportunity to not be in that position, because they're like, what would we do without you? Nobody could do what you do in this current position.
Right.
And so they get rewarded with more money and more responsibility, but they never get the top job.
Which is why I have complicated feelings about the fact that he kind of does get some recognition in this film. It feels, because in real life, if we look at the real life comp, right? I forget his name, but when Anna Wintour stepped down as editor-in-chief at Vogue, you mentioned basically the Nigel character. He's kind of based on a real person at Vogue.
But was Andre Leontali.
Right, yes. And he didn't actually get the editor-in-chief position.
Well, he was very ill and I think died just after that, or actually he might have been dead before that happened. But the thing about Vogue, from the way that I understand it, which is basically based on 2 documentaries I've watched about Vogue, one called the September issue and the other one was called the First Monday in May, there isn't really a number 2, or there wasn't, at least in the structure that I was exposed to.
Gotcha.
Like it was Anna, and then it was all the other department heads who were in a way all like a number 2, but there wasn't like a right hand as there is in Runway.
I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like people like Miranda / and I don't know as much about Anna Wintour as you do, but like you said, those are number 1s and they are kind of in they're locked in their worldview.
Yeah.
And it felt a little bit, again, like fan servicey to be like that Miranda would break out of that worldview and give Nigel his flowers finally.
Yeah, well, I will say, I think I understand what you're saying, and part of it did feel a little bit corny to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's very number 1 for her to be like, I actually have something much more important to do with my time. So by the way, with no notice, you're going to do this. Thanks. Bye.
Right.
I knew that they were trying to couch it as like Nigel's getting his flowers, but I didn't really see it that way. I saw it more of like, okay, great. Now my boss has asked me to like step into this huge responsibility that I'm not prepared for because I had no plans to jump in and do this.
Well, yeah, the movie definitely was framing it as like, this is a positive. So I think,
but I was seeing it from like real life experience of having been put in situations like that. And I'm like, I'm not happy that I got to do this. I know that Miranda would see it that way of like, I gave you a great opportunity, didn't I?
Yeah, that's funny. Because I don't think that's what the movie was trying to portray, but I do agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into what I think is kind of like the meat of the conflict, which is these 2 new characters played by Lucy Liu and Justin Theroux. And I don't remember their names, but they're very clearly based on Jeff Bezos. And I'm forgetting his now wife's.
Mackenzie's. Oh, you're talking about.
Yes. Okay. There's actually 3 characters,
okay.
really. So Emily Blunt is kind of playing his now wife.
Lauren Sanchez Bezos.
Emily Blunt's character is kind of stepping in now because she is dating Justin Theroux's character, who is like a tech billionaire. Like, I think he talks about coding, so I guess it must be tech. But
I guess it is tech.
He's kind of just like a billionaire for some obscure reason. He's like insanely wealthy. And then Lucy Liu plays his ex-wife, who is now also very wealthy after the divorce, who is very clearly based on Mackenzie Scott. Right. Who is now, again, kind of like this philanthropist and billionaire in the real world. You know, in the first film, there's this kind of like behind the scenes machinations by Miranda to keep her job at Runway. And there is basically like the equivalent of those machinations here are that Andy and Miranda work together to get Lucy Liu's character, again, the ex-wife of Justin Theroux's billionaire, to buy Elias Clark to maintain Runway's presence in the industry. Because Emily and Justin Theroux's billionaire have already placed an offer on Runway as a part of an attempt of Emily to take control as editor-in-chief of Runway.
Right.
I hope that properly explains what went down.
You got it.
Okay, first off, what did you think of like Justin Theroux's billionaire character, who is quite an interesting guy?
I actually really liked his take on it because I thought he was going to be like a totally detestable and despicable individual, kind of like Jeff Bezos. But the way that Justin Theroux played it is like he was just sort of like a aloof kind of like doofus who was like a huge nerd in high school and no one ever really paid attention to him. And he just happened to be really smart and make some good business decisions and got rich. And it didn't like, what I liked about it is that he wasn't detestable and he didn't like he wasn't corrupted by his money. He just was like kind of an asshat.
It's almost like Justin Theroux is in a completely different movie than everybody else that's in this film. Like, he was giving Mike Myers. Like, it reminded me of like a Mike Myers character. I think he was wearing prosthetics because he was absolutely almost unrecognizable.
I didn't even realize that it was him at first.
He's like cartoonishly kind of like
tan.
I don't even know. Like, he's very orange. Like,
yeah, he's very tan. He's like got like obviously like there's supposed to be like jaw filler. That kind of stuff.
In the same way that Jeff Bezos suddenly got super jacked as soon as right. It's
he's magnified.
It's almost over the top. Yeah. And I actually found it kind of funny, and I think it was funny.
He was like a comic relief character.
I mean, like I think it's a pretty honestly savage takedown of Jeff Bezos, which I did not expect. You know, like it's pretty brutal to him. Like, given that he's such a classic stand-in for this real life person.
Oh, yeah. Disney said shots fired at Amazon.
Yeah, and like very sympathetic towards Lucy Liu's portrayal of the Mackenzie stand-in, Mackenzie Scott. Lauren Sanchez's stand-in, Emily Blunt. I mean, I think that Emily Blunt is kind of the low-key MVP of both of these movies, Devil Wears Prada 1 and 2.
100% she is.
I couldn't believe on rewatch how good she was in Devil Wears Prada 1, given it was like one of her first major roles. And she continues to like be the source of most of the laughs in
I was going to say, she kept what could be a dark movie really light and funny, and like the improv that she does is so good in this movie. Like, you can tell by the way she whips things out and her little mannerisms and quirks that like a lot of it was improvised, and it was like, you know, I'm sure there was like, this is the storyboard for the scene, so, you know, do things that are very in Emily's character here when you're having your little side banter with your beau or whatever.
Right.
It was very good. Emily Blunt is so fucking funny, and I just love that she got to reprise this role and did it so outstandingly well.
Yeah, she was incredible. And it is fascinating that this, as you mentioned earlier, that this is coming out just before the Met Gala, which is being co-chaired by Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
This is crazy. Okay.
So this is like wild. And of course, Emily Blunt is going to be present at the Met Gala.
Yeah.
And all of these people, you know, there's a tie-in, right? Like, all of the actors in Devil Wears Prada 2 are going to be present at the Met Gala. Really wild stuff. Really, I wonder how Geoff feels about this. The other Geoff.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall at this gala. This is going to be very fascinating. Beyonce's going to be there. Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Anna Wintour, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
Emily Blunt.
I mean, something that's really fascinating is that when the first film came out and the novel that the film was based on, like Anna Wintour kind of distanced herself from it a little bit, because it was like
everyone in the fashion world did, except Valentino.
It was perceived at the time as being a negative portrayal of like the Anna Wintour stand-in. And now that the second film is coming out, Anna Wintour and Meryl Streep did like a joint photo shoot together in promotion of the film.
On the cover of Vogue, and Anna Wintour's never appeared on the cover before in like her 30 plus years of being editor-in-chief and now head of global content.
And it's another, I guess, sign, another signal of how the power dynamics have shifted, right? Because it's like now
100%.
Seen as like prestigious for Anna Wintour to be associated with this big Hollywood film, where at the time it was like, oh, this is gauche. Like, this is not cool for me to be even seen in the same room as this movie. You know what I mean?
Right. Because guess what? This Hollywood movie that's being paid for by Disney and the press for this has been out of control, is giving Vogue a lot of free press right now. And the Costume Institute Gala.
This movie is going to make $1 bajillion too. I have not seen a theater as full as the one that I watched Devil Wears Prada 2 in.
My theater sold out. And there were people in line while I was getting concessions trying to get tickets, and
being turned away.
Sold out. Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, the 4-quadrant appeal, the real signal of this is that I asked Ken if he would like to see this movie, and he said, "Oh, I'd see that one." Ken.
Wow.
This is going to do numbers.
Ken would go out and be amongst the people for this film?
Exactly. This is an indicator.
Ken is very funny, and he has good comedy taste, so
he does.
It doesn't surprise me that he would like this film. Very good.
Before we close, one note that I wanted to give, one of my favorite scenes in the film was after Andy and Miranda convinced Lucy Liu's character, again, this is the ex-wife of Justin Theroux's billionaire, to purchase Elias Clark, which, again, kind of dark, that the only way to save Runway is basically to find your own billionaire.
Another billionaire,
yeah. Find your own favorite billionaire that likes you a little bit more and is a little bit nicer to buy your company.
Yep.
And Andy and Miranda are in the car, and they're talking, and they're like, how long do you think it's going to be before she gets her hands dirty in Runway? Which is like always the question when somebody takes over. I mean, we've seen this with Bezos and the Post, right? He was originally like, we're going to stay hands off. And then how long did it take for him to...
a year and a half.
Exactly. So
if that.
It felt very real. And it also was, again, that gray area that I love to see Miranda in. They continue on, and she's like, this doesn't mean that we're like buddy.
Yep.
If it comes to it and like you have the opportunity to take me down, I know that you're going to do it because you love this job and you care about the media. You needed this job as much as I needed this job. So like, don't act like we're together in this.
Yeah.
That was, I think, a lot more nuanced and interesting than how the Nigel and Miranda relationship resolved in this film.
Well, that's the thing. I agree with you. I love that scene. I think it was important. And I think it was very realistic.
Right.
Because Miranda's not the kind of person who's ever going to be like, oh, my underling is now my bestie.
Right.
That's never going to be the situation with her. She is number one through and through. I disagree with your take, though, that she and Nigel's relationship had any kind of resolution, because the movie ends with Nigel in the same position. He's still doing the same job. He's still her number two. And he's always going to be. That dynamic, I think, is always going to exist. Like, Andy is not the only person for whom like the dynamic established with Miranda is the one that will continue and last until there's just no longer a dynamic.
That's true. I guess I had made a couple of assumptions, which one, we learn earlier in the movie that Miranda is up for the head of content for all of Elias Clark, which again, this is like paralleled in real life with Anna Wintour taking over at head of content for Condé Nast. And my impression was that perhaps that might be her role in this future of Elias Clark now that Lucy Liu's character has taken over. So I had suspected that, her conversation with Nigel about giving this speech might have presaged him taking over as editor-in-chief of Runway. But that's me taking a lot of cues from the real world outside and bringing them into the film. So you're right that materially, Nigel's position has not changed at all. He just got to give a speech at this fashion show, which also featured a Lady Gaga performance.
Right. Which would not surprise. By the way, we haven't talked about the music in this film at all, but I have to say this album is a total banger. I've been really enjoying it. I think that the songs that Lady Gaga did for this movie are really fun. There's been some discourse that I've heard personally, and also that I've seen online, that the song Runway featuring Doechii. Actually, I don't know if it's Lady Gaga featuring Doechii or if it's Doechii.
I think it's just both of them. It might just be co-lead, yeah.
Okay, so I've heard that people felt like it was very pandering to the gay community and like, I mean, yada yada. And I'm like, okay, maybe, but only in the way that like all fashion.
Have you seen The Devil Wears Prada?
Right.
I've seen it being criticized as like, this sounds like H&M music, and I'm like, dude, that's the entire fucking point.
Exactly.
That's the point of the music. Like,
the whole thing is a celebration of fashion. It's a celebration of glamour. It's a celebration of the fantasy. And what is that but gay culture? And like ballroom culture and drag culture. Like it's all about that stuff. It's living the fantasy, right? That's the whole thing.
It is very silly, and I think it's like intentionally over the top.
Yeah,
and silly. Like that's the point of
fun.
It. The same way that when you watch The Devil Wears Prada 2 and you hear the needle drops in that film, it's like it's a little bit eye roll, but like that's part of the enjoyment of the film.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Exactly. This kind of goes back to my thing about Dr. Molly Gupta. Like, I just feel like
I knew it was going to come around.
I know that it's like silly. I know that it's like well, and I'm not saying that Devil Wears Prada is bad, but I'm saying like I can appreciate the elements of it that are corny or silly or bad, and I can still think that it's joyful and entertaining and want to watch it.
Right. This is not like this film and the original film. This is not like a school in cinematography. This is not like the most masterful use of the film medium, right?
Right. I do want to say, though, I feel like they absolutely heard some of the backlash about the way that this film looked, because especially the scenes that they did not on the soundstage looked more like the first movie, which were like filmed with like the old school kind of cameras. So let's just clap it out for the color correctors.
I almost wonder if the trailers that were on YouTube and like Instagram and stuff were coded, like color coded differently than the actual film, right?
I think that they were probably coded the way that they thought they were going to release the movie, and then they heard people bitching about it and were like, oh, we need to make this look a little less Netflixy.
And I will also say that the increased budget of this film compared to the first one is very felt because there's an entire sequence in Italy. Was it Milan?
Oh, yes.
With gorgeous like drone captured images, boat rides,
Lake Como,
all of it being, filmed on location. So you can feel the increased budget in this film. And I think that also contributes a lot to like it feeling prestige, even though there are also moments where it feels a little bit cheesy.
Yeah, I do want to say I feel like one thing that I loved about the first movie that I also love about the second movie is the scale of it. Like, this feels like a blockbuster movie, and it is. And the first one felt like that a bit in some scenes, but you're absolutely right. You can really feel the difference in the amount of money that was put into producing this film. And that global scale, I think, makes the message of the film and the importance of continuing to create art for the sake of it, continuing to always be like searching and seeking and trying to get to a level of beauty, and also about preserving your legacy. I think that it just like really drives the whole point of the movie home even more because they were able to put so much effort and art into this film.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, Geoff, that's The Devil Wears Prada 2. I can't believe it was actually pretty good. That's
great.
Biggest surprise.
Also, I have to say this. I love that the last word that is uttered, the last line of dialogue uttered in both movies is go. That was my favorite callback because it was so appropriate. I was afraid, Justin, that her last line was going to be because Andy's standing there and she's like, did you need anything else? Like impatiently.
Yeah.
I thought that Andy was going to say, no, that's all. And I was like, don't do it. And so I'm so glad that she said, not right now. And Miranda just goes, then go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was great. That was a perfect way to end the film.
Mm-hmm.
No notes.
Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with our What's Goods. And we're back.
Justin, we're so back. And we're so glad we saw The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Loved it.
Surprisingly great movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to rate it, what would you rate it?
Like a 7.5 out of 10.
Wow.
What would you give it?
I said an 8, maybe 8.5.
Okay. All right.
I thought it was very good.
Yeah, it was very fun. It was like a respectable continuation of the original film, which is
that's exactly it.
More than we could even dare to hope.
Love that. Okay. Well, Justin, there are other things that we love.
There are.
My terrible attempt at a fucking segue. And I would like to hear what else you love this week. So, Justin, will you tell me what's good?
Yeah, Geoff, I will tell you what's good. And that's Beef.
The other white meat.
It is an anthology limited series that is on Netflix. I actually never watched the first season of Beef.
What?
So I went back and watched the first season because you probably know that the second season recently dropped. And I'm very curious about that one. So I went back to watch season 1.
Featuring some of our hottest actors, by the way.
Yeah. Well, season 1 and season 2, I would say. You don't think season 1?
No, I'm talking about season 1.
Okay.
Ali Wong, Stephen Yoon.
Yes.
I can't remember his name. Young Manzino.
Yeah, Young Manzino, yeah.
Damn, they are all so fine.
Yeah, so season 1 came out in 2023, and both seasons were created and showrun by Lee Sung-jin. Very talented showrunner. It's incredible that this is one of his first projects because this limited series has such a distinct like visual aesthetic and presence and identity. The premise of this, if you've seen like any of the trailers, I think the title gives it away, but the premise is that there is a road rage incident between Stephen Yoon's character, Danny, and Ali Wong's character, Amy. And this leads to a long-running beef between these two individuals where, there are increasingly escalating stakes to the point where people's lives are at risk. And I won't spoil who, but people do die as a result of this beef by the finale. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this. I guess number one, like the performances from Stephen Yoon and Ali Wong are Stephen Yoon, I think, is like very well known at this point for being an incredible actor. Mm-hmm. Ali Wong, at least from my perspective, I always knew her most as a comedian. And this show is very funny,
Great stand-up.
But she also gives an incredible dramatic performance in this limited series. Her character is to me the most fascinating, or the more fascinating of the two in this first season, and she's incredible in the role. She comes from, well, she doesn't actually come from money, but she has like a more upper middle class background. And Danny is much more working class. He's like a contractor, and he's constantly like starting new businesses because his old one has failed. And his brother, played by Young Manzino, is like a real Gen Z, almost like archetype. Like he's constantly investing in crypto and like losing a shit ton of money. At some points working for his brother's company, and at some points just decides not to work for his brother's company.
He's like a little aimless.
A little, yeah, he's very aimless. He doesn't really know what the fuck is going on. I think what's really interesting about the show is it gets into why this inciting incident happened, right? Like, why are these two people, one of them from like a, you know, blue collar working class background and another of them with quite a lot of money, why are they so unhappy that they feel the need to scream at each other in this car, right? Which is, it is one of the questions of our times. I constantly think this when people are like honking at each other in traffic. I'm like, who hurt you? You know? And this
everybody, the world.
And that's exactly what this show is about, I think, is like really digging deep into what is fucked up about these people in a way that I think is like not honestly portrayed in a lot of media. And for that reason, it reminded me a lot of the drama, right? Where it kind of shows like a lot of the kind of like dark and insecure underbelly of these characters in a way that I think a lot of other shows and films just don't get into. Lee Sung-jin has a similarly like cynical and dark view on humanity as the drama does, because both of these characters are like very narcissistic, very avoidant. They are doing literally anything that they can to avoid confronting the issues that they have, right? To the point where they are being angry at people in their lives outside of themselves, blaming other people for things that are so clearly their fault. And it also delves in a little bit into like the ways that the society that we have preys on that impulse to avoid blaming yourself and to like do anything else to like distract from that fact. There's this recurring bit where like Danny's character just will like shove like 4 or 5 of those like Burger King original chicken sandwiches into his mouth whenever he's having like a tough day, which is something that one, I can relate to. You know, I've definitely gone to Taco Bell and gotten too much food and eaten when I've had like a bad day or something. And I'm like, instead of, you know, dealing with whatever the problem that I'm having is.
Don't I know it?
And that's just like one example of like the way that the world around us is built to be like a pleasure button so you can avoid whatever problem you're dealing with. And it's almost always a bad decision. Like when it comes to fast food, it's your health. I mean, crypto, which I brought up earlier, is another example that's basically just gambling. All these like get rich quick type schemes that feel, you know, they prey on people's inability to really like think long term.
Yeah, to rationalize.
And they prey on people's desire, like impulses, basically. And our society is kind of designed in that way. Like, I mean, even after this original season 1 came out, DraftKings is now like advertising on every sports broadcast. It's tough.
All the betting on the wars,
dystopian,
the conflicts around the world,
all those
so
prediction
crazy.
markets. Yeah, it's tough. Kalshi.
Oh God,
it's tough stuff.
We're fully in like idiocracy.
And this miniseries really goes deep into like, it doesn't like kind of specifically, it's not very on the nose about it. Like it doesn't say like, this is what I'm trying to say, but like these characters just keep repeating these same cycles of avoidance and trying to get short-term pleasure at the expense of like themselves and their families. So
yeah, and acting out.
Right.
Damn. This series fucked me up, I have to say.
It sounds like quite dark, but I think Lee Sung-jin and the other creators involved with the project are good at like balancing humor with it as well, because it is like inherently funny the way that these characters are all kind of like idiots in their own way.
Yeah. This miniseries limited series reminded me of Black Mirror in a way. Like, I'm like, oh, this could have been like one episode of Black Mirror if they'd like shrunken it down. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way. I mean that in the way of like, it has like something really interesting to say about society. But I like that we got to really do a deep dive into like the how did we get here thing. And I also think like this series surprised me every episode at how much more heightened the stakes became.
Right. It just keeps escalating. Yeah.
What started out to me as something very silly and funny, like it got, for me at least, I feel like as the show went on, it became less funny and more dire.
Yeah.
But like at the beginning, it was very entertaining just from like a humor standpoint.
Yeah. And I will say, last thing about the show, there's like an aspect of surrealism. If you've listened to the pod, you know that I'm a sucker for that stuff. Like there are little tiny moments that like are just in one episode, like where this like absolutely absurd thing will happen, like this literalization of like an anxiety, or in the finale, there's like this little brief sequence. It opens with crows just talking to each other, like they're squawking at each other, and then there's captions where you can like understand what they're saying. Just that little throwaway stuff like that are like really surreal and like add to the very heightened atmosphere of the whole thing. So yeah, I just think this is like really impressive and assured. Like I think it might be Lee Sung-jin's first television show. I think he's made some films before, but I think it's his first television show. What's up, y'all? Just popping in for a quick correction. This is Lee Sung-jin's directorial debut on a television show with Beef, but he has written on many other television shows before, including Two Broke Girls, Silicon Valley, Tuca and Birdie. So he's very experienced in the television space, but this is his first time directing. But anyways, let's get back to the show. So a really assured kind of like creative debut for Lee Sung-jin. Yeah, if you haven't watched it, give it a look. And I think we're considering doing an episode on season 2 of Beef if we get around to watching it. So stay tuned. So Geoff, that's Beef season 1.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, other than The Devil Wears Prada 2, what have you been enjoying this week?
Well, Justin, I have been enjoying a lot of the press for Devil Wears Prada 2. I have been watching lots of video reviews about the first film. I've also started watching another documentary series that I had not seen yet about Vogue in general. Or no, sorry, it's about the supermodels, but there's an episode all about Vogue. I think it's on Apple. I think it's called The Supermodels. Very interesting stuff. But I want to tell you about another show that I have started watching the first season of. I have not finished the first season. I think I'm on episode 5 now. But this is a little Australian TV series from 2002. So it's very old.
Oh, okay.
And it's called Kath and Kim. As I said, it's an Australian TV series. It was created, written, and stars Jane Turner and Gina Riley, who are two like notable Australian comedians. I think this was like their first big hit. And this was a huge hit. It was like the #1 show in Australia while it was airing for like that 3-year period. And it spawned 2 made-for-TV films that were released as like finales to the show. They actually, NBC, and thinking like 2006 or 2007, I remember seeing the previews for it. Molly Shannon and Selma Blair were like starring in a American version of Kath and Kim that did very poorly. Okay. I don't think it ever got an audience. I think it was canceled before the first season even finished airing. So that was too bad, but I remember seeing that and being excited about it because I loved Molly Shannon. I mean, I still love Molly Shannon. Anyway, I started watching the show. The show's vibes, I think, remind me of Roseanne / The Office / Pen 15 / Absolutely Fabulous. It's kind of a kooky show. It's almost filmed like a mockumentary, but without the confessional aspect of it. And it's a cringe comedy sitcom. And it follows the lives of Kath, who's played by Jane Turner. She's a fitness-obsessed middle-aged mom, and her lazy young adult and narcissistic daughter named Kim, who's played by Gina Riley. Kim is married at the very beginning of the series, but for like 2 months, and her marriage is already failing. So she decides to give up on it and move back in with her mom, Kath. And basically this series follows these 2 women who are working class and live in suburban Melbourne. And they're both obsessed with trying to achieve affluence, which they call effluence. And they're trying to like fit into upper middle class society. But like the whole thing about the show, the driving plot is that the 2 of these characters are so like delusional and so like self-serving and so narcissistic that class and good taste are completely elusive to them.
Yeah.
So it's really great. It's also funny because Jane Turner and Gina Riley are the same age, and they're playing like mother-daughter. They're like literally a year apart, and they're playing mother-daughter. The show is also very funny because these 2 actresses play multiple different characters in the show. So there's these 2 characters that I love that are side characters that are like these upper middle class, like snobby Melbourne shop owners. They own like a boutique gift shop. And so they have like a really strange Australian accent that is like identified with like people of upper middle class, like trying to like show their wealth. And so that was the accent I was doing at the start of the show. They're talking about Harba.
Okay, so that was a reference to this.
It was
show.
from Kath and Kim, yeah. And that's like a line of dialogue that's said between those two shop characters, True and Prue. It's a great show. It's very funny. The wigs in the show are hysterical. These are like hard front wigs that are absolutely insane. Kath wears like basically like a giant blonde afro, and Kim is wearing like this. She goes through multiple different iterations of like these bangs with like remember when all the girls were going on vacation when we were in like middle school and high school and they were getting those micro braids and stuff. So she'll do stuff like that, and then she does like big feathered hair. It's very funny. Basically, these two women are just always trying to get rich. They're always trying to like, they have like all these different like side hustles that they're doing. They're obsessed with getting like very inexpensive versions of like plastic surgery type procedures. It's very entertaining.
Yeah, it's interesting timing, right? Because if this came out like early 2000s, it preceded The Office. I mean, it sounds almost like sketch comedy.
It is.
If it's a semi like mockumentary, but without the confessionals, maybe it's just like, it's all so heavily improvised that they have to use handheld cameras, you know?
I do think a lot of the dialogue is improvised. And because these women also would go on contemporaneous like Australian and British talk shows as their characters.
Wow. Okay.
And they're very funny. I've been, in addition to watching the show, I've been watching like a lot of their interviews with them in character as Kath and Kim appear on like Australia's like Good Morning America or Today's Show. It's very good.
That's funny.
And they were definitely influenced by like the kind of like the interest in like climbing up the economic ladder as like Roseanne is, and interested in dealing with class issues in that way. That is both funny and also poignant, but also I love the casting of the misagedness of it, which reminds me of Pen 15, and their like interest in being seen as like high society reminds me of the It Crowd and Absolutely Fabulous. And then like the cringe comedy of it all is very The Office, and I do wonder if it like inspired the British Office at all because of the style that it was filmed in.
Yeah, when did the British Office start?
I don't know. I'd guess around the same time. I think it was like early 2000s.
2001, yeah. So it was just before this show. Yeah,
but potentially being like filmed at the same time since it came out in 2012. But yeah, it's a great show so far. Like I said, I've only 4 episodes in, but I've been obsessed with it and watching, rewatching, rewinding parts of it, and it's available to stream on Netflix.
It's wild. I haven't heard of this one. I'll have to give it a look.
It's really good. I think that you guys would like it. It's also just an easy show to watch, you know? It reminds me of like, I could see easily being a comfort watch like 30 Rock or Parks and Rec or The Office. It's good shit. So watch Kath and Kim.
This episode, also good shit. Devil Wears Prada 2.
This is great shit. This might be the best shit I've ever made. Gotta tell you.
Okay, well,
love it.
Clip that part. Geoff, it's been a great episode. Let's close it out.
All right, well, until next time.
Bye. This has been Bants with Geoff and Justin. Bants is created and produced by Geoff Taylor and Justin Benavides. Graphic design by Geoff Taylor. Editing by me. The theme music for Bants is the track Nebraska With You by Sam Day and is provided by No Copyright Sounds. Email us at bantspod@gmail.com with any questions, recommendations, or just to say hi. If you like the podcast, rate and review us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And tell your friends. Bye.
Go.